Hi, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I hope everyone is doing fine and well and healthy. Okay, so this is a pre-recorded lesson. So I'm not there live in the conference as usual. So I would like to apologize for that. And thank you for your cooperation to continuously attending your lesson as usual. Okay, the reason why I am doing this pre-recorded lesson instead of a live version is because there is certain circumstances that are unavoidable and I could not attend the live version. Okay, so no worries, the lesson will still go on because I do not want to postpone this, and I'm pretty sure you don't want to postpone the class as well into another date or another time, which uh, is not good for you or anything. So we will just do the pre-recorded lesson as usual. Okay. So today's topic is about astronomy. Okay. We're gonna explore about the people back then that used to study about astronomy, about our solar system and all that. Okay, so I'm gonna share you my screen here. So this is the slide. You can find the slide in the folder as well, so you can take a look and read it. You might need to use that for your classwork later on. Okay, so here is the expectation of this pre-recorded lesson. After you're done with this video, go ahead to the folder called lesson 1 week 34. It's in your materials schoology page. Okay, you can find this slide over here, and you can also find the discussion page. Okay, the discussion page. Okay, uh, I will show you. Okay, the discussion page will over there, it's called early astronomers and their discoveries. Over there, I will explain more about how to do this assignment, but let's start with our lesson first. Okay, all right. Now, so this is about early astronomers. So we have current modern astronomers, of course, but we're going to talk about the early one and what are their discoveries. This is quite important because it's the basic knowledge about how do we come to know what we know now. Okay, because you would wonder how come we know that there are many planets out there. How come we know that the earth is a sphere, not flat? How come we know that the earth is orbiting the sun and all the other planets are orbiting the sun? So how do we know all of that? So we need to know, and we go back to the history. All right, so we're gonna explore on a few astronomers here. um, I would like you to take note of who they are and what do they do, and what are their discoveries or their theories about the solar system. Okay, now, so there are many astronomers out there. I'm just gonna name a few. There are Al-Khosji, Ptolemy, Al-Haytham. There are so many more, but I'm gonna focus on just a few that are quite important. All right, the first one, the earliest one. Okay, his name is Claudius Ptolemy. It's pronounced as Ptolemy. The P is silent. So he was an astronomer and a mathematician. Okay, uh, this was around 150 AD. In our next class, I will talk more about what is this AD and BC. It's actually the year. Um, but this just shows to you which century they are from. Okay, so 150 AD is around, I think, I'm not so sure, but I will check on this again. It might be around first or second century. Okay, so what he believed that is that his theory is that he believed that the earth was the center of the universe. Instead of the sun, he believed that the earth is the center. So it's quite easy for other people to believe that as well, because we are living on earth and we don't feel like the earth is spinning. right? So it seems like as if everything around us is circling us, such as the sun. The sun seems to be moving across the sky. The moon also to be appear to be moving. So it's easy to understand that, and easy for people back then to accept the fact that the Earth was the center. And this theory is called geocentric, right? Geocentric. Geo means earth, and centric means it is central. The central idea here is geo, which is the earth. All right. So this is in an incorrect theory, but he was actually able to combine what he saw, the stars' movements, with mathematics, especially geometry, to predict the movement of the planets. So some of the movement of the planet that he already predicted was actually correct, and a lot of his work are actually being used for by the modern astronomer after him to conduct more research on solar system. Okay. All right. So what he, yeah, in order to make his predictions true, he worked out that the planets must move in epicycles or smaller circles rather than a big circle. It is in epicycle, meaning that it is in oval shape, the one that we know now. Okay, and the Earth itself moves along an equine. None of this was true, of course, but he made the math work for his prediction. So he's quite an expert in math as well, right? So that is Ptolemy. Ptolemy is quite famous as well. Now, let's go to the second one, Aryabhatha. Aryabhatha was an Indian astronomer. I have to note though, there are Russian astronomer, there are Assyrian astronomer, Egyptian astronomer, especially the Islamic astronomers are also very active during these centuries to find out more about our solar system. Okay, so Aryabhatha was around 500 AD. So he proposed that a computational system based on a planetary model in which the Earth was taken to be spinning on its axis, and the periods of the planets were given with respect to the sun. So he actually used some kind of a computer system to figure out that the Earth is actually spinning on its axis, like the one that we have already learned before, right? Not the fact that the Earth is spinning randomly. Okay, he was actually the one that figured out, oh, the Earth was actually spinning uh, in one turn, spinning on its axis. And he actually not recorded, sorry, calculated that the periods of the planet, how many days does it took for each one of the planets to circle the sun. Okay. He also accurately calculated many astronomical constants, such as periods of the planets, times of the solar and lunar eclipses, and the motion of the moon. All right, the third one is Ibn al-Haytham. So Ibn al-Haytham was an Arab mathematician, astronomer, and physicist of the Islamic Golden Age. So his name might have been mentioned before in our previous event before, the Golden Age. Okay, he lived around 11th century. So he was actually the first one to explain vision. Okay, vision, and how light reflects from an object and then passes to one's eye. Remember our lesson about light, how light is reflected from the light source on the object and then enter our eye. So he was actually the first one uh, to make that theory. Okay, and to explain it, able to explain it. Okay, so now he was actually the first one to point out that vision, real vision, the fact that we can see, is actually happening in our brain, not our eyes. The eyes is only the place for the light to enter and to refract it. Okay, so you will learn more about the science of eyes and the science of vision in secondary, inshallah. So the point here is that he questioned the idea of the Earth-centered universe, meaning that he does not agree with Ptolemy. He does not agree that the Earth was the center of the universe. Okay, right. Keep him in mind for a second now. Now we're gonna go to the next astronomer here. So Al-Kushji. Al-Kushji was in the 15th century. Al-Kushji had found more evidence that the Earth moved around the sun. So he found that evidence, yeah. So he add up to the fact that, okay, perhaps the Earth was the center of the universe was wrong. Okay, so he calculated that the inclination of the ecliptic, and his calculation of the ecliptic shows very little difference from today's value. So whatever we have known now about elliptical orbit of the Earth is actually very much so just like what he did back then. Okay, so uh, our modern calculation comes from him as well. Okay, so this guy, Nicholas Copernicus, is very, very important because he is actually the first one to start a revolution of another new theory about how the solar system works. All right, so in the 1514, around 16th century, Nicholas Copernicus, a Polish astronomer, proposed that the planets have the sun as the fixed point or the sun as the center, okay, to which their motion are to be referred to. So the Earth is a planet among other planets. Besides that, orbiting the sun annually, okay, also turns once daily on its own axis. So he managed to figure out what we know now today about the solar system. He was the first one. Okay, so we call his theory as heliocentric theory. So we have two theory now. First one just now, geocentric. Geocentric was the Earth as the middle. Heliocentric is when the sun is in the middle. Okay, what we know now. Okay, Copernicus' theory had important consequences for later thinkers of the scientific revolution, including such major figures such as Galileo, Kepler, Descartes, Newton, Isaac Newton, and so on. So from his study, from his research, other astronomers can do their own research in the right direction. So his finding was very, very important back then. Now, let's move on to the next one, Galileo Galilei. Galileo Galilei is very, very famous as well, and he has a lot of stories out there. You can just Google about him. His story is everywhere. Okay. All right. So Galileo Galilei, this was around 16th century as well, same as Copernicus. I suggest you to write down the names because the names can be very hard for you to spell it out. So I suggest you to spell it out. Just write down what are their names and their what do you call that? The theory. Okay. So Galileo Galilei, he actually is the one that invented telescope. Okay, so because of this telescope, a lot of people, astronomers, scientists, can learn more about the solar system and it becomes even clearer. Okay, so when he invented his telescope, one of the significant finding that he found was that he discovered that there were four moons circling Jupiter. He studied Saturn, he studied Jupiter, he studied all of the other planets as well. Okay, he observed Venus as well, and all this sunspots of the sun. So because of this telescope, it enabled him to study even further. However, Galileo's observation and his theory are not being accepted very much back then. Okay, people were very against on the fact that no, the sun was not the center, the earth was. The earth, because it seems like everything is moving around the earth. Okay, a lot of people were against his and also Copernicus theory about heliocentric universe, the fact that the sun is in the center. So Galileo's observation strengthened his belief in Copernicus' theory that the Earth and all the other planets revolve around the sun. All right, so let's go to the next one. We have two very important men that are uh, very famous in physics here. Okay, so Johannes Kepler and Isaac Newton. Johannes, yeah. So in 17th century, a century later, while Copernicus rightly observed that the planets revolve around the sun, it was actually Kepler who correctly defined their orbits. Now Copernicus is the one that find out about the planet revolving around the sun, but Kepler uh, calculated the orbit. How many days does it take for each one of the planets to circle the sun, to orbit the sun? Okay, so these are the laws. I don't think I'm gonna go deeper into this. Okay, he do realize that the planets move in ellipses, a squash circle, so it's like, kind of like an oval with the sun at one focus point. Another law of his is that he make a precise mathematical relationship between a planet's distance from the sun. Okay, so this is another important findings where he find out the distance from the sun of each one of the planets. Okay, so from his law that inspired Isaac Newton, who came up with another three law of motion. Okay, you don't really need to go through what are these laws. Law are just how things are supposed to go by in this physics term. Okay, we're not going to go deeper into that. Okay, so Isaac Newton. Sir Isaac Newton here. If you have heard of this famous story, how Isaac Newton find out about gravity, where the apple dropped down from the tree, that is his story. Okay, so Newton law actually defined motion. He was the first one to figure out about gravity. Okay, and he also, from this law of motion, he figured out the orbit of the moon around the earth as well, and explained that the earth's annual journey around the sun, how many days does it take. Okay, from all of his findings, he also ventured into astronomy as well. Okay, so that is it. All of the astronomy that are quite important, they are mentioned in your textbook. That's why I mentioned them here. Now, about your assignment. Your assignment will be given 5 marks, so meaning that you don't need to do much, but that assignment will be that mark will be included into your individual assignment, because this will be your individual assignment. Very short one. This is not a big one. Yeah, the big one I will explain later. That will be your final one, final project, which is will be about planets. So this will be your mini project. Let's call it a mini project, mini individual project. Okay, so what I want you to do is that I would like you to do a basic, a very brief internet research on um, any one of the early astronomers. Okay, now let me, okay, just for an example, there are so many more. I would like you to find the astronomer that are not being mentioned just now by me in my slide. Do not use Copernicus, do not use Galileo, do not use Aryabhata or Al-Haytham. No, okay? Find other early astronomers. You can search it in Google just like I did here, early astronomers and their discoveries. Okay, and you can find a lot of other astronomer here, Aristotle. There are so many more. Yeah, if you if you read about them, there are like amazing work. Okay, now not just I'm not asking just the name, but I will also but you also need to present to briefly explain what exactly are their discovery or their theory. Okay, just for example, just now we talk about Copernicus. Copernicus had his theory about how the sun is the center of the universe. That was his theory. And other discoveries, I can also explain about the discoveries. Okay. Um, Here, you can see here, Persian astronomer Abdul Ar-Rahman As-Sufi, Tycho Brahe, uh, there are so many more. Okay, Giovanni Cassini, Christian Huygens, Edmund Halley, William Herschel, Charles Messier, and there are also explanation of what exactly did they discover. There you go. There's a Albert Einstein. So many more. Okay. So what I want you to do, find out all of the names. Just one name of astronomer. Choose one and just briefly explain what exactly did they find, what are their discoveries. Now I want you to go to the Schoology page under materials. Over here under discussion page here, you can see here, right? Early astronomers and their discoveries. Now you will write down about about the astronomers here. Okay, in this assignment, you are required to do a brief internet research on any early astronomers and their discoveries or theories. Let's say, for example, I write down Ptolemy. So Ptolemy had the theory that the Earth was the center of the universe. This theory is called geocentric theory. And I will explain more. Now, I would like you to write down at least 3 lines, okay? Just very simple paragraph, just very short paragraph. Then you just post it. Now, that will be your attendance, okay? I can see who will attend this class and who is doing the work or not. Okay, but if you find that your friends have chosen and written on any one of the astronomer that you have chosen, do not choose the same astronomer. For example, you wanted to do about uh, Mr. Haley, for example, okay? And then you wanted to do about him as well, but your friend already taken it and have already posted it down. So you find some other people. There are so many more. It's enough for everyone, inshallah. All right. Um, there are also some names in your workbook. Some names that are not being mentioned in my slide. Go ahead, take a look at them. Um, okay, in your workbook, find it in your workbook. It's I think it's around in page 73. All right, so that is all. I expect um, in our normal scheduled class, after you're done with this video, you just write down the answer to the assignment. All right, any question at all, just ask me in the direct message or in that discussion page. Okay, so now that is all. I would like to dismiss the class now. Thank you very much. I'm sorry again for not being able to attend the live version. I will see you next class though. The second lesson will be held online as usual, will be held live as usual. Okay, so thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.